I found this discussion stimulating because I think, the world across, I think we are all struggling. How do we change societies? And education is obviously always seen as the trigger to change. And yet, if you look at it as environmental practitioners, we are sitting back today and saying climate change is definitely going to happen. Societies aren't seeing environment enough of a lifestyle issue, that in spite of now possibly at least one full generation of people being trained in environment, at least in the Western world and now increasingly even in India, we are not beginning to push societies towards where we want the world to go. So what's the gap between what we are teaching and the behavioral change that we want societies to make? And I think that's really where this conference, I think, is very, very rightly timed and very rightly messaged, because this is a very big space of work, of inquiry, and of learning, because we nobody knows how to fix it. So what can we learn from each other, and how can we do more of? I keep thinking as an environmentalist, we are all talking about behavioral change, and at the end of the day, you talk about it, people say it's about political will. Then people will say, no, let's get the fiscal measures right. And yet, we know that the only time societies have actually willingly made a behavioral change, at least in our own lifespan as we're seeing, the one that I can very clearly say is tobacco. And I haven't seen anything like that in any one of the fields that we care about. Okay, there's more organic food being eaten, there's more concern about local production, there's some concern about minimizing consumption, but definitely not enough. The market is definitely too strong, we're still buying more, disposing more, there's more obsolescence growing, and everything to do with environment is about a technocratic approach. Let's first pollute and then clean up. So that whole change that we all aspire to make, because we know that without that change, we're not going to fix the environment, we're not getting it done. So what do we do? And I think what I heard both Advi talked about, and those are really the examples to build from the bottom. How do we get people to think differently, think in a more interesting way? I just wanted to talk a little bit about the experience that we ourselves are struggling with, because I'm finding that bringing politics into environmental education is becoming absolutely critical today. That too much of environmental education has become too politically neutered. It's too, everything is possible, and there's huge win-win everywhere, and it's kind of remote, it's taken the, I'm not going to use the word anger, because that always puts a lot of educationists saying that's not what we want to communicate in classrooms. But we definitely want children to see the political side of environment, and we want to see the equity side of environment, because what is also very clear in all the work that we have done and we continue to do, and I continue to do, is that environmental sustainability is not possible unless you have equitable and inclusive societies. And yet that has also got further and further divorced. We talk about climate change, you talk about the science of climate change, you talk about the inevitability of climate change, you talk about the impacts of climate change. You really don't talk about the politics of climate change. We hesitate to talk about it because it seems like something we don't want to bring into classrooms. We don't want to bring the C word into classroom, which is really consumption. We talk about C word as climate, but not consumption. And yet, if you don't talk about consumption, you will never fix climate change. So I think those very difficult discourses have to happen. And I think as educationists, we'll need to really start getting much deeper into these subjects and understanding it. And I think that's where, Dr. Bharucha, I've been really impressed by the work that you have done and the book, your phenomenal book, which has gone out to universities and helped to begin the conversation. And as you very rightly said, a few years ago, 2 years ago in fact, to be precise, I also asked my colleagues this, that You know, we have an amazing opportunity in India. The Supreme Court of India has directed that environment will be taught in every college of India. Okay, it's only 5 marks at the end, and it can be treated very non-seriously, but you have a huge opportunity. Just think about it. Massive numbers of people who will have to, as a compulsory subject. This is not even an optional subject, a compulsory subject, and at the university college level. Incredible approach, opportunity. And yet, like you very clearly, you said in your presentation, our analysis also was that it's being taught in the most indifferent of manners, that the teachers who are teaching this subject are actually totally disinterested. Most colleges, what they have done is to say they sometimes have a history teacher, sometimes they have a geography teacher, sometimes they have a botany teacher. Whoever is a little more free teaches it. There's really nothing which enthuses them and encourages them. And I had not really thought about this, Thomas, and thank you for sort of articulating this. But it's also very clear that people are the driver for any education. And we know this, and yet we don't often know it. But I'm glad that what we are beginning to do, and I hope that with all of us we can sort of join hands. So CSC has decided to bite the bullet, at least to create what we are calling a University Educators Network. So, and an annual meeting once a year, where we bring together university teachers and expose them to the politics of environment, the politics of development, the debates that are happening today. Get them thinking seriously about, why am I teaching this? Not just because I have to teach it. And environment is something which, as all of us know, is something that changes our lives. I mean, it's not something that leaves you once you start understanding the passion, you get passionate about it. So you need to communicate that passion. You need people to understand and teachers to understand. And we are adapting, Dr. Bharucha, we can't make it better than yours, but we are trying to adapt it to make an annual report as a reader for teachers, very much along what you said, that try and bring we're basically taking experiences, information out of down to earth, and information that we have to put on top of the ecosystem, the layer about what's happening. What are the politics of ecosystem? What are the people who live in the ecosystem? So making the connections and try and bring together an annual reader with this annual conference, which I hope will grow and will allow more and more educators to get passionate about what they are doing. And at the end of the day, if they're not passionate, it's not going to work. If they teach this subject as just another 4-mark subject, it's just not going to work. And I think and then the other thing that we are beginning to do is, because that was a demand from the last meeting, is to do collaborative research. Because again, as Madhvi so clearly said, the inquiry-based research. So we are, as you know, Ganga is a big issue. The river Ganges and its pollution is a very big issue in India. But there's a big issue about the data that we have for whether we are actually monitoring pollution in the river, and whether that pollution is monitored at the right place and it's using the right parameters and it's using the right equipment, and of course whether the government is actually releasing the right data or not, and whether the government's just fudging its data, because it serves everybody to say the river is clean when all of us can see it's actually a sewage canal. So one of the things that we are beginning to do through this network is actually work with colleges along the Ganga to monitor the pollution, and use that to put it up on a public database, which also gets students to understand how science works. And this is really something we learned from the other program that which I feel has been, it's a very small program, it's nothing in scale, as a number of environmental education programs. But I'm very passionate about it because I do feel that environmental education must push children to do something and not just to know something. And there's a difference between knowing and doing. So some years ago, we had launched a program called the Green Schools Program, which is a program where we actually have a manual on water, air, waste, and energy and all the environmental issues. But what we get students to do and schools to do is to actually look at chapter by chapter, what is it that is their own water usage in school or their waste generation in school, and then come up with a benchmark and then each year try and improve it. And we've now got schools who've been with us over years, and we now have classified them as sort of GSP Gold schools, because there we can work more deliberately to say, what do you do as to make your school much more green? And so you create, in a sense, some change. And I do find that every time, I only see it once a year, but when the students come, the schools that have done this, there's a great sense of pride that they've actually done something and they've actually brought some change in school. But what has come out of that, and I think that's a lesson for all of us, is that the Indian elite just do not want to do it the hard way. So no elite school is part of our network. It's very interesting, because elite schools would like to be the most environmental schools, but they don't really want to do anything in their own behavioral change. So you don't want to say that I'm not going to bring a diesel car to school because that pollutes more, or I'm going to be able to say more school children will go to a school bus because that pollutes less. So, and CSE being CSE, we do drive it to that level. So it is about, do you have junk food in your school, and do you bring diesel to your school? So you need, and that we find puts a lot of the elite schools away, because they'd like to be very green. And all of them are extremely good at talking about environmental sustainability. But practicing environmental sustainability is too tough for them. Because because if it forces them to make any changes or investing something, whether it is about changing the way you harvest rain in your school, or whether it is about the way you will actually reduce, but they don't really want to do anything in their own behavioral change. So you don't want to say that I'm not going to bring a diesel car to school because that pollutes more, or I'm going to be able to say more school children will go to a school bus because that pollutes less. So, and CSE being CSE, we do drive it to that level. So it is about, do you have junk food in your school, and do you bring diesel to your school? So you need, and that we find puts a lot of the elite schools away, because they'd like to be very green. And all of them are extremely good at talking about environmental sustainability. But practicing environmental sustainability is too tough for them.